Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are diving into some super helpful painting tips and tricks that will make your next project a breeze. Let's get started. First up, let's talk about replacing painter's tape. You know, that sticky stuff that helps you get clean lines. Well, sometimes it can be a pain to remove. Here's a little secret. Instead of pulling the tape straight off, try peeling it back at a 45-degree angle. This helps prevent the paint from coming off with the tape, leaving you with a nice, clean edge. Next, let's tackle that pesky paint odor. It can linger for days, right? Well, there's a simple solution: place bowls of white vinegar around the room. Vinegar absorbs odors, and it's a natural way to freshen up the air. Just make sure to keep them out of reach of pets and children. Now, let's talk about storing your roller. You don't want it drying out, right? Well, here's a tip: wrap it in plastic wrap and store it in a sealed plastic bag. This keeps it moist and ready for your next painting session. Cleaning brushes is a must, and it can be a bit of a chore. But here's a trick: soak your brushes in warm water and dish soap for about 30 minutes. Then, gently scrub the bristles with a brush comb or your fingers. Rinse thoroughly and let them air dry. Let's move on to spray paint. It's great for quick projects, but it can be messy if you're not careful. Here's a tip: hold the can about 6 inches away from the surface and spray in even, sweeping motions. Don't stay in one spot for too long, or you'll get a thick, gloppy layer of paint. Now, let's talk about removing excess paint from your brush. It happens to the best of us. Here's a trick: use a paint scraper, or a putty knife to scrape off the excess paint. This helps prevent drips and ensures a smoother finish. Paint stains can be a real nightmare. But don't worry, there's a solution. For fresh stains, use a damp cloth to blot up the excess paint. For dried stains, try using a paint thinner, or a solvent specifically designed for the type of paint you used. Protecting screws and hinges from paint is essential. You don't want them getting stuck, right? Here's a tip: use painter's tape to cover the screws and hinges before you start painting. This way, you can easily remove the tape once the paint is dry, and your hardware will be protected. Finally, let's talk about preparing a wall for painting. It's important to have a smooth, clean surface for the best results. Start by washing the wall with soap and water to remove dirt and grime. Then, use sandpaper to smooth out any rough spots. Once the wall is dry, you're ready to paint. And there you have it. Those are some of my favorite painting tips and tricks. I hope you find them helpful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Happy painting! Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, we are diving into the world of paint and exploring some super effective, easy, and fun painting hacks that will take your projects to the next level. First things first, let's talk about protecting your hands from paint. You know how it is: you're all excited to start painting and then bam, you get paint all over your hands. It's a nightmare. So, to avoid this, I always wear disposable gloves. They are cheap, easy to find, and they'll keep your hands clean and paint-free. Now, let's move on to painting a chair. This is a classic DIY project that can really transform a piece of furniture. The key here is to use a good quality paintbrush, and to apply the paint in thin, even coats. Don't try to rush it, take your time, and let each coat dry completely before applying the next. Keeping your paint palette clean is essential for a smooth painting experience. I like to use a plastic palette, which is easy to clean and reuse. To keep it clean, I use a palette knife to scrape off any excess paint and then wipe it down with a damp cloth. Applying paint evenly is crucial for a professional-looking finish. The best way to achieve this is to use long, smooth strokes and to avoid going over the same area multiple times. If you're painting a large surface, it's a good idea to use a roller for faster coverage. Now, let's get creative. We are going to explore some fun and unique painting techniques that will add personality to your projects. First up, we are going to paint walls with polka dots. This is a super easy way to add a playful touch to any room. Simply use a stencil or a piece of tape to create your dots, and then fill them in with your chosen color. Striped decor is another classic and timeless design. You can create stripes using painter's tape or by freehanding it. The key here is to use a steady hand and to make sure your lines are straight. For a more textured look, try a combed surface. This technique involves using a comb or a similar tool to create a series of parallel lines in the wet paint. It's a simple but effective way to add depth and dimension to your project. Geometric shapes are a great way to add a modern touch to your decor. You can use painter's tape to create clean lines, or you can freehand it for a more organic look. Experiment with different shapes and sizes to create a unique design. Finally, let's explore some unusual patterns. There are endless possibilities when it comes to painting patterns. You can use stencils, stamps, or even your own imagination to create something truly unique. Don't be afraid to experiment and have fun with it. I hope these tips and tricks have inspired you to get creative with paint. Remember, practice makes perfect, so don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just have fun and enjoy the process.